Welcome to the Speechie Show. Being a speech-language pathologist often means having too much work and not enough planning time. To beat the overwhelm, we're bringing you the tricks and tools that will make your job a little bit easier. Hey everybody, welcome to the Speechie Show. I'm here today with Lacee Johnson from Speech Me Maybe. How are you, Lacee?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. And today we are talking about assessment with children with autism. So we are talking about how do you get a good picture of a child with autism when you can't get them to sit down and do your standard battery of tests that you would like them to do. So we're going to be sharing some awesome tips and resources for evaluating children with autism today. But if you are new to this show, this is the Speechie Show. We do this every week. I interview another speech-language pathologist or another professional, and we chat about one topic, and we do some giveaways. We have lots of fun. So stay tuned. If you're here with us on Facebook Live, you will have a chance to win our giveaways here in just a minute. And don't forget to share with your friends so we can get other people on here as well and have a good time. All right, so Lacee, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself before we get into the topic of treating children with autism or evaluating children with autism.
So I'm Lacee Johnson. I'm a speech-language pathologist. I work primarily with kiddos with autism, so I do a lot of assessments and evaluations and stuff like that. So I would love to share more.
Wonderful, wonderful. And do you work at a center specifically for children with autism? Did I see that?
Yeah, so I work for, Arizona Autism United. So our population is autism. We have a clinic, and then we do home services and school-based services as well.
Perfect. That sounds wonderful. Yeah. All right, so we're talking about evaluating children with autism today. What I want you to do if you're on Facebook is go in, find an emoji that represents how you feel about evaluating children with autism. Go ahead and put that in the comments. I want to see what emojis people come up with. So what emoji best represents how you feel about evaluating children with autism? All right, so we're going to share 5 tips today that will get you through those assessments for children with autism, and then we're going to share some resources and do some giveaways. So our first tip today is about using different types of assessments. So Lacee, talk to us about what kinds of assessments you use for children with autism.
Yeah, so typically when I do an assessment, I use a combination of test batteries. I want to always try to use a standardized assessment that you can base comparative and standard scores on. But I also use informal assessments, criterion-based assessments, developmental scales, just to get a bigger picture of the overall child. If you look at the DSM-5, for our level 1 and our level 2 kiddos, maybe our nonverbal, more severe, or maybe, limited verbal abilities, I always try to give them the PPVT, the EVT to get some type of standardized score, but I also give them an informal assessment. In addition to observation, language samples, the informative assessment gives you a better picture than what just a standard score would give you. And for our level 3 kiddos, so like our social communication kiddos that struggle with those social language aspects, I give them a variety, in addition to the CASEL, which they may get a standard score of 115, and we may not be able to justify why they need skilled speech services. It's always great to do an assessment checklist, which I'm going to talk about further too.
Perfect. And do you include like parent and caregiver report on those children that you really just can't get them to do anything in your office?
Yes. So that is definitely part of each, the informal assessment and the communication checklist. There's a functional communication assessment that the parent can fill out, as well as a detailed case history form. And then for the social communication assessment that I give, I always want to get, parent input, teacher input. Maybe they're with a paraprofessional all day long. That can give you more than, what pulling them out for an hour you would see.
Perfect. Wonderful. All right, so we are, oh no, Tessa says she can't find her emojis. So we're talking assessment for autism if you're just joining us. And I asked you to put in emojis that represent how you feel about treating or assessing children with autism. I saw one angry emoji go by. Got at least one angry one. So you can either type it in your comments, or there is a place where you can just kind of use it to like or dislike on this actual Facebook Live. So having a little fun with emojis today. All right, so we talked about using different kinds of assessments. So the next thing we want to talk more in depth about is observations and language samples and how that can be used to assess children with autism. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I definitely always do an observation. I try to do an observation in, the classroom, at lunchtime, in a different setting. The context is different. It may be a non-preferred activity, so you might not see what you would see during a preferred activity. So during those observations, I kind of, there for a while, was thinking, like, I'm watching them, they're sitting quietly, they're not really speaking much. So I didn't really gain a lot. So within those observations, I try to get at least a language sample from what I can. So I don't know if you're familiar with Speechie Musings on Teachers Pay Teachers, but she's an amazing freebie. It's just a checklist, a one-page checklist. And you can look at grammar, semantics, pragmatic use, how they're interacting, and then you can just note areas of concern. So I use that all the time during my assessments. So
I will find the link to that after this, and I will put it in the comments of the Facebook post, and we'll also put it in the show notes over on the website. So if you're on the website, you can head on over there and look at that.
Yeah, so basically just, you're getting a good observation on different settings, different contexts, and are they socializing with their peers? Do they rely heavily on verbal prompts to get through a task? That kind of thing. So observations in multiple environments is always great.
Perfect. Yeah, I really like noting the level of support they need to do a task, which you just kind of alluded to is, okay, how much prompting do they need to follow group given directions? What about individual directions? What about interacting with peers? So yeah, I think if you just indicate the level of support on some of those tasks, that can really give you a better picture.
Yes, for sure.
All right. So we've talked about different types of assessments, observations and language samples. Let's talk about getting a clear picture on their social language skills. What would you be looking at in terms of who you could talk to get a big picture of that?
Yeah, so for social language assessments, you want to talk to everyone that's involved with them. So on my freebie, it's a freebie you can download. You would do a social competency interview with parents, teachers, the student, and maybe even a friend of the student. So from that interview, you can gauge whether or not they have the same feelings towards the student. Is it reciprocal? You can gauge whether there are more significant issues at home or in the community, whether at school, when you talk to the parent. And then the teacher always gives great input for whole group instruction. It could look very different from, a small or pull-out session.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Sure.
Okay, so Tessa says, I missed the age range you're talking about for assessing. So we're talking about assessing all ages, right? Are there any specifications you would put on ages for these things we've been talking about?
Not really ages. I really do more of levels. So, your more severe nonverbal kiddos with the more severe communication deficits, you can use my informal language assessment. And that assesses expressive, receptive, and social and functional skills for those basic language areas. And on the other end of that, you have your, level 3 kiddos who just kind of need that social communication approach.
Perfect. All right. Wonderful. Tessa, if you have more questions on that, go ahead and type them in. Okay, if you're watching with us on Facebook Live, hang tight because we are going to be doing some giveaways here in just a minute, but we have 2 more tips to share. So we're talking about using different types of assessments. We're using observations and language samples. We're talking to other people about their social language skills. And now we're going to talk about adding some more structured tasks to probe for language. So what do you do when you're not getting what you think you should be getting?
Yeah, and that happens a lot. Like I said, you'll go into a classroom or you'll observe at lunch and you won't get a lot of language, especially with students with autism. So unlike a typical language sample, I usually pull them and do more of a task-oriented activity. So I'll pull out some pictures. We'll look at a book with no words and, kind of just see, are they describing? Can they initiate? Are they using, 2 to 3 words? And they should be using, 5 to 7. So kind of just getting more language out of them instead of just watching them passively participate.
Perfect, yes. All right, so we've got all of these different things that we're doing, these different tools we can use. How do you put this all together to find the big picture?
Yeah, so during the report, typically, when I first started out, I would, write a standard score, and maybe the scaled score would be, 1. So this type of assessment allows you to gain a better picture of the overall child, and you can, see if there's, splinter skills that aren't generalizing into other settings. So they've mastered asking for help when they're with you. However, they go into the classroom setting and they're not able to raise their hand or, initiate asking for help. So pulling all of these assessments together. So definitely always, attempt to give a standardized measure, but then do not, forget to do your criterion-based assessment, your informal observations and language sample as well, because that will really make a better picture of the whole child, combining all of those together.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so we have a question about nonverbal children, or maybe a child that's just using echolalia and not using functional communication. So which of these different things that we've talked about do you think would be most appropriate for a child like that who's really maybe one of those bottom tiers of this diagnosis?
Yeah. So I use the functional communication profile a lot with children who are nonverbal. They are communicating, just not verbally. So you kind of just have to dig a little bit deeper. I manipulate the environment to where they have to demonstrate some type of communication, so I can gain some kind of idea of where they are. And you can also do a lot of receptive tasks with nonverbal students. So my receptive language portion in my informal language assessment, it's a huge booklet where real pictures where they can ID pictures, verbs, body parts. And if they're not at the picture level, you may start with objects or, something on their level. But yeah, there's a lot of receptive tasks you could do with nonverbal kiddos.
Perfect. Okay, well, those are our 5 tips for today. We are going to go ahead and do a giveaway here in just a minute. So if you are with us on Facebook Live, hang tight. But Lacee, go ahead and tell us your favorite resources that you have for this topic today.
So my favorite resource would be my informal language assessment for students with autism. So there's a receptive language portion, expressive language portion, a functional communication portion that the parent, a social language portion. So it really gives you a comprehensive picture of the student.
And is that the cards you were just holding?
Yeah, it's like once you print it out and laminate it, it's just like a stimulus book.
Oh, yeah.
You flip through. Yeah. And it also comes with a little scoring worksheet.
Oh, perfect.
I don't know if you can see this at all.
Probably a little.
But so basically, you just, this skill is right here, and then the score would be over here. So for example, labels objects for expressive. You can do either a 0, a 0.5, or a 1. So 0 meaning could not complete the task, not really stimulable for the task. A 0.5 would be, okay, they could do 1 or 2 of the items. Maybe it's emerging, maybe a good area to target in future goals for the IEP. Mm-hmm. And then a 1 meaning, yep, they can do it. They've mastered it in that setting.
Perfect. Uh-oh, hang on. I got a pop-up box right over your face. Whoops. All right. So Heather Freeman just hopped on. Hey, Heather. She says she's glad she checked out Facebook today. All right. So that's the first one. That's the informal assessment for children with autism. Where can people find that if they want it?
That is on my Teachers Pay Teachers store. If you just go to Teachers Pay Teachers and type in Speech Me Maybe, my store will come up, and the name of the product is Informal Assessment for Children with Autism.
Perfect. That's Speech Me Maybe. So you guys can head on there. And then you had another one, didn't you?
Yeah, this one is free. If you go to I don't think it's on Teachers Pay Teachers yet, but if you go to my blog, it's just speechmemaybe.com. It's on there. And that is just basically when you're assessing those social communication areas and you want more than, the Castle pragmatic subtest, you can download this and it's an assessment checklist and basically a checklist of anything you need for that area.
Is it? Did you say it was social? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
checklist for social. Okay. So you guys can check out those as well over at speechmemaybe.com, and she's got that freebie up there.
Yes.
Landria says an evidence-based protocol. I'm not sure which one she's referring to. Landria, if you can clarify, that would be good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to do a giveaway. We're actually going to do 2 giveaways. Oh, here we go. I would do the VB map, ABLES, ESIC, play-based informal assessment. Those are some good ideas for assessments as well. When we were talking about more of those standardized and the informal assessments, those are good options to have.
Yes, those are great.
All right. Okay, so now we're going to do some giveaways. What are you giving away today?
The informal assessment for children with autism.
Perfect. That's the big packs of cards, the stimulus books. She's going to be giving away one of those, a digital download, to the first person who responds to my question here in just a sec. And also, the second person to respond is going to win 2 free months in my membership. If you're not familiar with that, that is the Speech Therapy Solution, and it is my membership just for speech-language pathologists. Once you get in, there are training videos, ready-to-go therapy materials that you can print off and use right away. We answer questions in there. We have a Facebook group. We do monthly webinars, all kinds of good stuff in there. So the second person to respond to the question will get 2 free months in there. But if you're interested in checking that out, you can head over to speechandlanguagekids.com/join, Join. All right, so here's the question. The first 2 people to respond on Facebook Live here today are going to get blah, 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 like that. This is live, folks. Are going to win. All right, so the question is, what is your favorite way to evaluate children with autism? It can be a test, it can be a technique, whatever you want. So favorite ways to evaluate children with autism. First person gets the informal assessment. Second person gets 2 free months in my membership. So go ahead and type those in. There is usually a little delay, so we need a little dance, a little music. I should just start. This is like the dance party. Okay, here we go. Beth Claire says, observational play, wonderful. All right, Beth, you are going to win the informal assessment for children with autism. How do you want her to contact you?
She could just email me. My email is speechmemaybe@gmail.com.
Perfect. All right. All right, so the next one is Tessa Larner, and she says also through play. So Tessa, I'm pretty sure you are already a member, but I will give you 2 free months on your membership. So go ahead and email me at Carrie@speechandlanguagekids.com, and we will get your membership upgraded to have that extra 2 months on there. So there we go. Got lots of other good answers too. So thank you everyone for participating in the giveaway. All right, we hope that helped you with your evaluations for children with autism. If you need help with any other tough cases, head on over to speechandlanguagekids.com/join and check out the Speech Therapy Solution membership. We'd love to have you in there and answer all your questions. Lacey, where can people find more about you and everything that you have to offer?
So always on my Teachers Pay Teachers store, Speech Me Maybe, but also I blog at speechmemaybe.com.
Perfect. Sounds wonderful. All right. Thank you all for being here with us. Join us next Monday afternoon. We're going to be talking about what to do with those wiggly preschoolers when you have a group activity. We're going to talk about using storybooks and getting really engaging with storybooks and nursery rhymes to work on some speech and language skills. So join us next week, and we will see you all then. In the meantime, head on over to speechandlanguagekids.com or speechmemaybe.com and check us out. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Bye. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us today on The Speechie Show. We hope today's tips have helped you feel a little less stressed and a little more confident about your work. If you're looking for more stress busters and confidence boosters, we'd love to have you join us in the Speech Therapy Solution, where you'll get access to a huge library of premium training videos and another library of print-and-go therapy materials. You can also get help with your tough cases by joining Carrie on the weekly Q&A calls or by posting in the exclusive Facebook group. Plus, group members can join us for a monthly webinar that can be used for continuing education credit. Head on over to speechandlanguagekids.com/join to check out all the amazing benefits of the Speech Therapy Solution membership. Bye for now.